Hare Krishna and welcome to the Solar Shraya podcast, a weekly bhakti podcast. We will seek the shelter and wisdom of our dear Lord Krishna with Shastra prayer and conversation. I'm your host, Bhakta Jake. Joined with me is my friend and teacher, Balaram Shakti Das, and also another person who is very near and dear to us to spin the dials and help us. Hare Krishna, everybody, and Hare Krishna to our audience. How are you today, Balaram? You are still on the road. You are in North Carolina.
Yes, doing well, thank you.
All right. I like doing YouTube videos because I've got the perfect face for radio. Already starting. I got my chai latte. Balaram, can you tell us just a little bit about why are you in North Carolina? Why aren't you in Tucson, Arizona, where you usually live? Why are you in North Carolina today?
Yes. So, as I believe the last episode we had, I was in Seattle, Washington. For okay, yeah. So I've been traveling with the Festival of India tour. It is a transcendental circus, although we don't perform anything, but we just set up the festival site for different communities around actually across North America. Uh, so the last couple of weeks, we've gone from Seattle to British Columbia, uh, down through the Midwest to actually here uh, last week, and then we went up to Columbus. So North Carolina is the home base for the festival truck. Um, and the organizer Madhuha Prabhu. So he lives here, keeps the truck here, and then you know. So then this weekend we will be going up to okay,
Philadelphia?
Philadelphia. Yes.
Yes. So if this video gets out before the Rath Yatra in Philadelphia, and if you watch,
It will. It will. I'll have this whole week pretty much. I have off. So
I'll sign. I'll be signing autographs. I'll sign your baby. I'll sign your bag, whatever you got. I'll sign it. If you got a Sharpie, I'll sign it. Sorry, I was having a flashback from my rock and roll days.
I thought that's what was happening.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
Oh my goodness. Moving forward.
yeah. So anyway, these
Yeah.
are festivals. Just in case there's a point to be made there. These are festivals that temple communities put on all over the world, actually, and mostly we're doing the Rath Yatra festival. So the the point or the purpose of this festival of India uh, was uh, so that any temple could have the facility to put on a big festival, because we supply all the tents, a lot of gear, we can put up. Uh, so that's shared collectively within ISKCON. And yeah, and then having the festival is actually just last night. We are talking about this a little bit on the drive down here. Um, how powerful it is for a community to have these big festivals. It's not the same sort of thing. It's just like a music festival and you go and party. Uh, like I was talking to this one vendor. Uh, I asked if she had been to any Hare Krishna festivals, or actually maybe color festival, because this wasn't a Rath Yatra, it was a festival of colors called Holi.
Oh yeah.
And she had, but she hadn't been to a Hare Krishna festival. So I was like, what do you think? And she, it wasn't, it's like she wasn't like having like the real like Hare Krishna experience, I guess. Um, because it had just been a couple hours of just, the vendors being open, and there was a stage performance, but there wasn't like kirtan or, the typical Rath Yatra feature of the parade where the deities are there, the devotees are like doing their devotee thing. So she was like, yeah, it's, like any other festival. I was like, okay, well, yeah, there is that feeling to it, where it's like a big party. There's all this energy, Um, but that's not the purpose of it, actually. The purpose is to spread Krishna consciousness. And when we do that as a group, um, we actually grow in love together, because Krishna consciousness is the consciousness of the source of love. And so the more that we develop in our Krishna consciousness, the more that we're able to love, right? And when we perform devotional service together, that's when we actually have love for each other. And I would even venture to say, not otherwise. Um, because if, right, does that make sense, Jake?
Yes. Yes.
How that works?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. With the gathering of it, it's not. I'm coming through with it's not a party, even though it is definitely a celebration. It's not a party in the sense of like we're all getting together and just having fun. There's like a whole purpose to it, and it's really like going. I don't even want to say it's like going to church, but it's it's a spiritual environment because you are worshiping the Lord openly in a public setting. And the we've talked about this before. The energy level alone is really something very amazing. So yeah, it's I guess I could say it's a festive energy, but the energy is devotion. It's devotional energy. So you are having a even better time. You are having 100% more fun than you would if you were just in a party atmosphere, by far. 1,000% more than if you were just in a party atmosphere. That's really what it is. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a very important service for sure. So thank you. Hey, thank you for being a part of that. I'm sure. I mean, you're like working for the company that
Yeah,
facilitates everything, so you're a part of it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
signing autographs.
So, why do we have more fun? Why is it, you know, what is the devotional aspect bring to it? It's because, like a party, what I'm thinking about is, you come together, you do your thing, and then you all go your separate ways,
Yeah,
right? We've all been to different festivals. Um,
Burning
and
Man.
we've all been, we haven't all been to that one, but it's like a whole different beast. Um, what's happening, especially Burning Man's like the paragon of just a big party to gratify your senses. And, don't think about any personal responsibility, right? You just go and enjoy to the max. You kind of exit the real world for a little bit and go into this fantasy world where anything goes. That's my take on it, in brief. So devotional service means instead of having a selfish, enjoying mentality or, enjoying spirit, as Prabhupada says, you're in the spirit of devotion where you're working for everyone else's enjoyment, namely Krishna's enjoyment. And Krishna is the supreme soul, the soul of all souls. So if you're giving pleasure to him, you're giving pleasure to everyone in the best way, the most holistic way. And if we're not, and that means love, right? Because Krishna is a source of love. So that's how we give love. And if we're not in that consciousness of the soul connection, right? Would be a good name for a band, Soul Connection. Probably already been. Then what are we doing?
Newark, New Jersey. Sorry. Sorry, I could not help it. I'm so
sorry. Yeah. So anyway, the real soul connection is when we're connected in Krishna consciousness. It means I'm becoming conscious of the source of love, and I'm able to have an interaction with you that is selfless. Otherwise, I'm trying to get something out of it, either in a gross way, which we kind of all recognize, or a subtle way, which is more difficult to recognize. But both of them mean that once our uh, life paths separate, it's over. After the festival ends, it's over. We're not having any more loving experience, right?
Right. We're not hanging out. We're not going to work together. We're not living together. We're not. Yeah. There's no. It's over. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the same sense, our lifetimes, like, you could say, well, I'm not worshiping Krishna, but I'm married and, we love each other. Okay, well, after this lifetime, the festival of your marriage, is the love still going to be real? After that person dies, will you still say that you are actively loving that person? You have a relationship with that person. If you're a believer in God, you'll say yes. Why? Because you believe not just in some being who's the arbiter of this universe, but you believe that love belongs to the spiritual world, and that we have, as souls, we have a eternal life. We are eternal beings. And so the participation in God's world means the participation in love, and that we can kind of partake in that in this world to a small degree. But it's sort of like we have the training wheels on here. We're not full-fledged lovers. We're not always in that mode, but we're getting some experience. And so devotional service in this world, in the general sense, means we're practicing how to love, how to connect with the source of love, so that our dealings with each other, when we come together for a festival, we're not just gratifying our senses and coming together for a uh, temporary, spurt or affair, and then it's over. That actually, the more that we serve together, the more that sense of the eternality of our relationship is evoked, right? And so a marriage, it's like there's probably going to be some tinge, especially if you're a believer in God. And you might not even realize it, but what it is that when you serve together, that's how love forms. It's only through service. And if there's no service together, you might say that you love each other. You might go to a festival and enjoy together, or go to, your college buddies, or, high school best friends, sweethearts. It's like, we love each other. It's ride or die, sort of thing, right? And it's like, I'll lay my life down for these people. And then not 5 years later, you don't ever speak to those people again. What speak of your next birth? Why? Because you weren't serving together. So the bond is superficial, whereas service is something real, because you're getting out of yourself, you're giving. Whereas if you're not serving, you're just like partying together, you're just enjoying. It's a superficial thing. Your soul is not active, right? So real love awakens when the soul becomes active, and that's God. That's the activity of God. That's like his jurisdiction, like his world is the activity of the soul. It's not just like it's some being up there and you should worship him or else you'll go to hell. It's like, no, like he is the domain of the activity of the soul, which is love. And we can participate more and more in that. And then we'll have a connection that goes far beyond the body. And we'll feel that. And even people that don't have an understanding of bhakti yoga, of the science of the activity of the soul, right, and its relationship with Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, they might, generally, I think a lot of people have this concept, or this like sense that, like, our relationship does kind of touch into the eternal, that, even after this death, we'll be together in some way, shape, or form, right? Or that I'm willing to give my life for you, like, actually, and you actually feel that. You actually feel that way. Why? Because you serve together. You've sacrificed for each other, with each other, alongside each other. War buddies. They're serving together.
Balaram, I'd just like to tell you that service is that is Krishna consciousness, is service. Service is what we're doing. Seva, right?
Yeah.
That's where the fun is. That's where life begins, is when you
There.
find
Your
out about
soul is
Krishna,
awake, right?
and then you're like, oh, I can serve Krishna, I can serve God, like, and there's like, and all I gotta do is like this or this. Like, I can serve the Lord by chanting rounds, I can serve the Lord by having a deity and just saying the prayers, or I can just serve the Lord by serving his devotees. And it's like, that's where the party is. That's
Yes.
where fun never stops, is to serve the Lord. And it's got to be an amazing marital relationship when you and your spouse are straight up serving the Lord together, and when you have actually, like, met each other in service, and when you're doing service together, that has got to be an amazing relationship, because you both have the bond of, you want to serve Krishna together. And that alone, I mean, just in your own life, not in somebody else's life, but in your own life, that's like, I mean, how many people are just completely okay with doing that? And how many people are just like, I don't care if I ever get married. I'm so content just serving Krishna, you know? Like, there's a lot of people like that. And then there's a lot of people that want to get married, and you know but it's a plus to serve either way. That in itself is the real deal.
Well, this is gonna tie into our reading today.
Oh, wow.
Very happy about. mean, everything that what we're talking about is like, that's Krishna consciousness. It applies to everything. It's called the absolute truth. But
Talking hands.
no, but just thinking about service,
Yes.
and because this next paragraph we're about to read is talking about the impersonal liberation, and you're not going to have that sense. The activity of the soul is not there in impersonal liberation. It literally means no activity, no personality is there. And so we're going to read how that kind of liberation, that kind of state of being, is not actually liberation. And that such persons fall down into the material atmosphere, which is the atmosphere of selfish enjoyment. So the marriage bond, matrimony means I am uniting myself with this person before God, for his blessings, that we can go beyond this world as partners, that we can help each other transcend this very tight knot of sexual attraction that is keeping us bound birth after birth in selfish pursuits of material pleasure. Because when you utilize that propensity to serve God, you go beyond this world. Ultimately, essentially, when you utilize all of your propensities to serve God, that's when you go to the spiritual world. If you simply negate them and say, I'm not playing the game anymore, it's like, okay, well, you might have beat the system, but have you awakened your soul in service? Have you learned how to serve Krishna, how to serve God? Okay, so that's what we're going to be
All
reading.
right. Do you want to do the prayers first, or should we dive right into the word? Or
first?
Okay. I can bring them up real quick if you want.
Please.
Okay. 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 Sorry, my computer's kind of slow.
Okay.
Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jnana Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Tasmai Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Karne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desharine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare.
All right, let me go to the text. Okay. Yes, let me go to the text. Sorry. There we go.
So yeah, we're continuing with the prayers by the demigods for Lord Krishna in the womb. Krishna is about to advent on the planet. So demigods are offering prayers to glorify him, and right now they are glorifying his devotional service. And the last section we read is talking about crossing the ocean of nescience, the ocean of ignorance to the soul, meaning the material ocean, material life, material energy, which is very troublesome to the living entity, bewilders us constantly. And that through devotional service, that ocean is reduced to the size of a puddle in a calf's hoof print. So, and then we talked about samadhi in the last show, right?
Yeah.
Practical samadhi.
Yeah.
So it means we're meditating on Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the only true substantive object of meditation. So this paragraph is going to pick up right there. You want to read? You want me to read?
Sure, I'll read it. Yeah.
Great.
From the Krishna book. Meditation means concentration upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Lotus feet indicate the supreme personality of Godhead, but those who are impersonalists do not recognize the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore their object of meditation is something impersonal. The demigods express their mature verdict that persons who are interested in meditating on something void or impersonal cannot cross over the ocean of nescience. Such persons are simply imagining that they have become liberated. O lotus-eyed Lord, their intelligence is contaminated because they fail to meditate upon the lotus feet of your lordship. As a result of this neglectful activity, the impersonalists fall down again into the material way of conditioned life. Although they may temporarily rise to the point of impersonal realization, impersonalists undergo severe austerities and penances to merge themselves into Brahman effulgence, or impersonal Brahman existence. But their minds are not free from the material contamination. They have simply tried to negate the material ways of thinking. That does not mean that they have become liberated, thus they fall down. So there's really no faking it till you make it. you could say. It's,
Mm.
that's it's not going to work here.
Yeah, you
Might
have
work
to.
out there somewhere, but it's not going to work here.
Well, even if it seems like it's working, like the yogi, we talked about yogis, like modern bogey yogis. We call it bogey means one who enjoys. Boga means enjoyment, right? So, but bogey also has a double entendre, obviously. Um, it might seem like, I'm becoming so advanced. I can do a headstand for 5 minutes now. Like I can control my breathing and my body's becoming real fit. But it doesn't matter what's happening to your body because, again, at the end of life, you're going to leave your body. But are you actually connecting with something substantive? Are you able to deliver something with your life on the level of the soul to someone else? It means Krishna. Like, are you connected with Krishna? So if you're not, you know, um, this paragraph is really clear. They're neglecting the personality of Godhead. They're neglecting the Lord, right? And like, He is the ultimate reality. If you were to zoom out
Mm.
with your soul, you'd find it's you and God. And then all of God's energies. That's all that there is. So if you're ignoring like the big man in the sky, so to speak, right? Like it's like He is the only presence, and we're just like tiny little particles. So if you're ignoring that, um, you don't have any actual real grip on reality. And so it's saying you're going to fall back down into the material way of conditioned life. Although they may temporarily rise to the point of impersonal realization, you might be able to understand that you're not of this world, that you're a spiritual being. But if you don't have any understanding of what is the nature of spirit, what is the nature of the spiritual existence, you can't stay on that platform because you're not acting on that platform, right? So again, it's a difference between festival mentality
Mm.
or renunciation thereof,
Yeah.
and the devotional activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to live our lives in the Woodstock of the world. We want to go down to the Rath Yatra. That's where we want to go. That's where we want to live. Okay. I want to live there. I literally want to live there in Puri.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah, it would.
In Jagannath Puri.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Your
someday.
soul is actually alive in Rath Yatra in connection with Jagannath Krishna.
I guess you're right. I guess you're kind of there. You're
Right.
there anyway, aren't you? Like, yeah, in the spirit world. Should I read the next paragraph, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the impersonalist has to undergo great tribulation in realizing his ultimate goal. At the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also stated that without devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot achieve liberation from the bondage of fruitive activities. The statement of Lord Krishna is there in the Bhagavad Gita and in Srimad Bhagavatam. The statement of the great sage Narada is there. And here also the demigods confirm it. Persons who have not taken to devotional service are understood to have come short of the ultimate purpose of knowledge and are not favored by your grace. The impersonalists simply think that they are liberated, but actually they have no feeling for the personality of Godhead. They think that when Krishna comes into the material world, he accepts a material body. They therefore overlook the transcendental body of Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajanti mam madaha. In spite of conquering material lust and rising to the point of liberation, the impersonalists fall down. If they are engaged just in knowing things for the sake of knowledge and do not take to the devotional service of the Lord, they cannot achieve the desired result. Their achievement is the trouble they take, and that is all. Okay, so right here it's saying that persons who have not taken to devotional service are understood to have come short of the ultimate purpose of knowledge and are not favored by your grace. Wow. Whew. I want to be favored by the grace. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Back in the old Pentecostal revivals, we used to say, "Amen." Can I get an amen?
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I don't know what verse this statement is from. He didn't give the well, at least here on the computer, it didn't give like the where it says this in Bhagavad Gita. Do you know where it says it in Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, it's in there. I don't remember what
My,
chapter.
okay.
There's a couple verses in there
Yeah.
that he's referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a verse that's used the words mat prasada, which means by my grace. One will cross over the ocean.
Okay.
And then avajananti mamuda,
Yeah.
that's the verse that we talked about in the last episode of Kirtaneshwar. That's chapter 9, text 11.
Okay.
Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme position. Looking at a different translation here, as Lord of all that be, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Mamabhuta Maheshwaram, supreme proprietor of everything. They don't Parambhavam, they don't know my higher nature, and they're confused about this human-like form of Krishna. And so this is the position of impersonalists, right? They can't understand Krishna as a person. They can't understand the Godhead, the absolute truth, as being a person. It means even if they do come to that point of impersonal realization, awakening of the consciousness of the eternality of the soul, they have no information about the activity of the soul in the spiritual world, right? And they come to an impersonal conclusion that everything is one or everything is zero, right? And you just have to cease all activity because activity means material. Personality means material. I've associated these things only with material objects, whereas Krishna also has form, also has personality, also has variegated energy, but is totally spiritual, right? So this is an important verse, in the 9th chapter. And as Krsna was discussing, there's a juxtaposition or a dichotomy being drawn out here between those who do not understand Krishna's personal nature and those who do understand the Mahatmas. And was it? Yes, Satatam, yeah, Satatam Kirtiyantamam, Yatantas Chadridavrida. Right? The Satatam Kirtiyantamam, they're always engaged in kirtan. It means they're always glorifying the personality of Godhead. Right? The act of worship is there. It's not just because God is jealous. Again, we discussed this point a lot because it's very important for us to understand what it means to worship God, because that's the activity that the truly liberated souls are always doing. They are eternally engaged in this activity of worship. Right? It's like that's what the soul does. And so if you do that, this is the one thing that you can, in a sense, fake it till you make it. Because by doing it, regardless of what kind of consciousness you're in about it, you're performing the activity of the soul. And it's by grace only. It's not something like you kind of have to fake it till you make it. Because unless you're favored by God's grace, you have no way of actually making it. Whereas these other paths, they're faking it. They're faking some activity in the name of being spiritual, but they have no way of becoming spiritual because that activity that they're doing, that faking it, is not attracting the mercy of God. Whereas if you participate in the activity of the soul, which is bhakti yoga, that process of performing devotional activity, that will attract the mercy of God. And when the mercy of God is there, that activity becomes realized by God's grace. You enter into the real spiritual activity. It's because you're trying to do the right thing. It's like a child, who's misbehaving. He's doing the fake it till you make it of, I'm going to be my own person. I'm going to go out and get my own job, my own car, live my own life. And he's only 5 years old. He doesn't know anything about the real world. He's not able to do any of those activities that he's trying to imitate or that he's concocting as being, good life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't know what a good life is. He doesn't.
Yeah.
But
I can't help but to think that I kind of said this like 20 minutes ago when I said that it's all about service to the Lord. And then Prabhupada, like, I had no idea that this was going to be in the text that we were reading today. Like when we were talking about the festivals and everything a minute ago, I was like, it's all about service. And what do you know?
this is
It
what it is.
really is all about service.
It really is. So when that child then, we always have a choice. Do we want to rebel or do we want to get on board?
Do we
Right? So
want to
that
go to Woodstock or do we want to go to
Rath Yatra.
Rath Yatra?
Yeah.
Or do we want to go to Lollapalooza?
Yeah, a little more, yeah, relevant.
I know. I'm trying to think of every festival, and my mind's not bringing up festivals. I'm over the festivals. I just want to go to Gotcha. Okay.
It's the only festival I know about.
Seriously.
Yeah, right. That's how the mind works. The mind can either be trained as your enemy or as your friend.
It's been washed, It's been washed. My mind has been cleansed of the material contamination, so I can't even remember the names of all these festivals anymore. they're all ridiculous names anyway. You
They
know,
are.
there's a festival called Hellfest. You know, they're like if you just think of the most ridiculous name, and that's a festival somewhere in Europe or Germany or wherever. They have festivals all the time. Techno festival. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
It's like, so when that child then says, you know what, I've been trying to do my own thing and it hasn't worked out, but my family is offering me a life of harmony and cooperation and real loving exchange. And if I just try to participate in what they're doing, then maybe some good will come of life. And sure enough, just by it's a different kind of fake until you make it. I kind of like this
Yeah.
way of looking at it,
Yeah.
because they might not yet have made it to like full realized mature life in the real world with in loving relationships with their family, but just by signing up and like walking the walk sort of thing, uh, you make it by the grace, right? So the parents represent the grace of God. In that sense, that's why the injunction is to honor thy father and mother.
Yeah.
Okay? Of course, if they're not being true representatives of the Lord and they're leading you astray or they're abusing you, then obviously honoring them would have a different meaning. It would mean rejecting because you're honoring the real mother and father that they are not being, right? And so you're not gonna it would be dishonoring to the principle of mother and father to follow,
Yeah.
such fallen
Yeah.
people.
I wish I would have known the story of Prahlad when I was like 15, 16, 17. I mean, that would have changed the course of my life for sure, you know? Because, I mean, think about it. You think you got it bad? Think about Prahlad, like your dad is literally like a powerful demon, you know?
You.
I guess I can relate to what you're saying because I was brought up in like not the greatest circumstances, we'll just say, to be polite. And so like it causes pain in your life and then you deal with that pain in different ways. You and usually those ways are self-destructive, you know? So when you learn about grace as a devotee, you're mature at that age, 15, 16, 17. You're mature enough to kind of realize, you know, I'm hurt, so I'm going to do this. But if you have an influence in your life that
Yes.
can make it positive, then that changes your outcome. And what did Prahlad do? Prahlad relied 100% on the Lord. You know, I mean,
Mm.
what you were saying just made me think of that. So I had to just put that out there. That I mean, think about that, man. You know, in family lives, and we should do a whole story about Prahlad one of these days, and just maybe next year for Naras. Yeah,
See.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We should do that. Really
Yeah,
get
that
it.
would be, yeah.
Didn't mean to go off on that track though.
Not at all. That was right on. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully that these analogies are helping.
I hope they are.
And yeah, that it's by grace, that just by um that this is how bhakti yoga works. Actually, this is how we come to the point of real spiritual realization. It's all by grace, and that grace comes when we put forth the proper effort of trying to live the devotional life, that we might not have the full consciousness of a pure saint, totally purified soul, but we understand that this is where the Lord is dispensing his mercy, right? That this Rath Yatra, as a exemplar, if you will, of the devotional scene, this is where the mercy is getting handed out. If I get it now, if I serve in devotion to God, by his grace, I will cross over. Whereas otherwise, what achievement is there? Prabhupada's saying, only the trouble that they take.
Yeah.
All of the rebellion that I did in school in those, years, what did I achieve? Just a whole bunch of trouble. At the end of the day, that's all you have. You can't, again, like you don't have anything substantive, meaning love. Like there isn't something that you can take to the bank at the end of that life and be like, I have something, because death will be there and will say, no, you have to give that up now. It's you can't take that. It's of this world, and this world is temporary. It's transient. You're just transiting through here. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of trouble. You have to actually realize the lotus feet of Krishna, meaning Krishna's service.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the lotus feet is really something. You see it on the scarves, like the scarves that people wear, like the one that's behind me here. Like I've always seen these little feet, on everything, and I was like, what is this? What's this mean? And of course, in Bhakti Yoga, there's always something to it. Like every little symbol, every little thing, there's like always something to it. So today I got the revelation of the lotus feet and what that means. There is something to it. Like there's little earrings of like two little feet, and I was always like, why are these Hare Krishna people wearing jewelry with feet? What's up with the feet?
Yeah.
Was you come to the lotus feet of the Lord and you say, Lord, I want to serve you. Please be merciful. That's what that's representing. Now I get it. Hare Krishna.
All
Hare Bo.
right. Yeah, I actually gave a class here last week. Um, a bunch of people saw it on the Facebook, which was nice. The verse, I was giving a Bhagavatam class here at Prabhupada Village here in North Carolina, and it was like this famous verse um, about Pada Sevana, service at the lotus feet of God, and it was like 3:16:7, I believe, and it's like such a beautiful verse. It's Narayan, the personality of Godhead, speaking to the four Kumaras. Long story, longer than I think we have to take. But he's conveying to them the um, power. It doesn't even suffice do justice. Um, just the nature of serving the feet of a great soul. And so um, he's saying that, my lotus feet, these feet that you're talking about, are
Yeah.
famous. They're famous for anyone who just receives a small particle of the dust of those feet, becomes completely purified, right? Completely, thoroughly purified. But he says the reason that I am so glorious is because I am always seeking to serve at the feet of my devotees, of the pure devotees. And the four Kumaras are these impersonal yogis. They don't have the knowledge of this. And what he's basically saying to them, he's saying, you don't know anything about how things go on here, how things work up here in the spiritual world. You might be able to bring yourself up to this platform of self-realization, but you have no idea that it's a love thing here. Like we're here to serve each other.
Mm,
And what to speak of my wife, the goddess of fortune?
mm.
She, even though I am like totally renounced, I don't play favorites, I am not attached to her. She still cannot help but cling to my feet, and it's always is serving at my feet. So Lakshmi is famous for being the perfection, the personification even of Pada Sevanam.
Yeah, and she's
Whereas
always
God,
at the feet, right? Like in
oh
all the paintings, she's always at the
yeah,
feet. Ah, I just got that. And like all the paintings, all the pictures that
yeah.
Narayan, right?
So
Narayana,
she's
Lakshmi, right?
she's representing Pada Sevanam. Prahlad Maharaj is representing Smaranam, remembrance. He's constantly remembering the Lord, right? Arjuna represents Sakyam, right? Friendship with the Lord. Like
Whoa,
this, have these
really?
different personalities, yeah, that represent the nine limbs of bhakti. And this is how we learn, what is the perfection of this limb. So Lakshmi is always serving the feet of God. It means she's showing us, like, this is the real thing. Like, I'm the goddess. Like, I have everything,
So she's showing us
but
that
still,
that's what we do. That's how we do.
that's how we do it here. Yeah, that's how
This is how we
we
do it.
serve great souls. And when we serve at the feet of great souls who are serving at the feet of great souls who are serving at the feet of God, right? Das, das, anudas. That is position of the Vaishnava. That is what makes the Vaishnava the most exalted position, the most exalted person. It's because they're situating themselves in that position that receives the full mercy of God. And Narayan is saying, and it was, in this verse, saying like, that is what makes me pleased. You want to please me? Don't try to approach me directly because I don't care for that. This Lakshmi that comes to me like that, like I don't care for that. But those who worship the feet of my devotees, my servants, there's nothing in the world that attracts me more than that.
Hmm.
And if the Lord is pleased, Lakshmi will follow because she's always with him.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for fortune in this world or in the next, you know, don't try to seek her out independently. You know, don't even liberation, uh, wealth, progeny,
Yeah.
enjoyment, religiosity. These things follow the goddess of bhakti with folded hands, unbended knee. Say, how can I serve you? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So we
that,
are out of here, man.
yeah, we're out of time. We're completely out of
What
time.
was
That was a
what?
great one. That was a great one. That was a good one. Should we end by reciting the Maha Mantra 3 times, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes. Let's
So
do
this
that.
is our opportunity, closing out the episode, to engage in devotional service together, wherein we will awaken eternal,
Yeah.
uh, perfect love.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Thank you very much for watching our podcast. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. Haribo, beautiful people. And thank you, Prabhu and Mataji, for being here.
Hare Krishna.